Very good morning to everybody. Most respected Justice B.P. Singh, it's really an honor to be here sharing the dais with him. He's led the most illustrious jurist position in this country, and we all regard him both from Mumbai and India as a wonderful leader in terms of thought and leaderships and justice, which he has done. Thank you very much for sharing and inviting us. Dr. Bansal, thank you so much. Helen Williams, wonderful to have you in India. It's really sharing from AICT, very honored, and of course the leaders who are here, the directors. Our friend Mr. Kanoria is my predecessors in ASSOCHAM, so I take over 2 years after him. So I'm his junior over here in this part of the whole operations and all. My friends from Pepperdine, it's really nice to have you over here. I want to share with you a few thoughts about what India is. The first thing about India is it's the fastest growing nation in the world. The pace at which it is growing is 7.2%. Last month it was 6.4%, and the target is 10% plus in the next couple of years. So in spite of being one of the fastest growing in the world, our Prime Minister wants to target a double-digit growth of things, so you're going to see a difference. Just to give you a few examples of what changes which are taking place. 5 years ago, we used to construct 4 kilometers of national highway per day. We now construct 35 kilometers of national highway per day. 7 years ago, we were 30% deficient in power as a country. Today, we have zero deficiency. There is some problem of distribution of power, but in reality, we have zero deficit of power in this country. In the last 5 years, 50% of our villagers have been provided light connection. And I use the word light connection, not power connection, because they still did not have a light through electricity. But today, we have 100% of our villagers having an electrical connection. That's the kind of change which is taking place in the country today. Let me give you an example of the city that I come from, which is Mumbai. We had 190 kilometers of metro, suburban trains in the last 70 years, and we had no addition in the last 70 years. In the next 5 years, we will add 250 kilometers of metro in the next 5 years. We will add an additional international airport. We will do a 22 kilometers of bridge which will connect the island city of Mumbai to the mainland. So we will actually double the area and infrastructure of the city of Mumbai. It's just like adding another New York to Mumbai. That's it. As small as that or as big as that, small because of this there. We have an opportunity of growth in the country which is unprecedented. And the reason why I'm saying this is the aspiration which our Prime Minister has brought about. We now talk about people who have to be rehabilitated in a city like Mumbai. 50% of my population lives in what we call slums, unauthorized houses, in decrepit condition. My Prime Minister says that in the next 7 years, there will be housing for all in this 7 years that we have targeted. I was traveling by Swiss Air from Zurich to Mumbai, and I had a co-passenger sitting with them who was a Swiss citizen. And we started talking. And I asked him, what are you doing? So he said, I come to India every 15 days. And I spend 10 to 15 days in Mumbai for the purposes of this. And I asked him, what are you doing? So he says, I'm looking at businesses of Swiss companies to come into India. And I said, I don't understand. Why would so much be needed to come into India? He says, and this is about 5 years ago. And he said, India doesn't have power. At that time, we didn't have power, situation was bad. You don't have highways. You don't have airports. You don't have this, you don't have that. In Europe, we don't need additional highways. We have it all. We never had a power deficit for since I was born. So there is no question about it. And our incremental requirement of power is 2%. Here we do an increment of 25% compounded annual growth year on year continuously. when we talk about various subjects. So, what I wanted to bring about is that the growth in the next 5 years, and it's already been the last 5 years, but in the next 5 years, we will cross 7.5%, we will cross double-digit growth, and we will have a growth which is going to be unprecedented. So in India will be interesting to the entire world in terms of investment opportunities and growth that you see as far as this is concerned. The middle class category, which was extremely small 30 years ago, is a huge bustling category. And they consume, the consumerism in that category is unbelievable. The growth is only 100% compounded per annum, year on year for the last 5 years. 100% compounded increase by the middle class year on year for the last 5 years. All this brings about what we call change. And the change is unprecedented. And we are not able to understand this change which has taken place because we've never seen it before. And that is why the collaboration between the richest country in the world, the United States, and Pepperdine and other institutions, along with your institutions and our institutions, need to study what is the implications of this change and what is required in the future for it. As I was introduced, that we run large number of institutions in Mumbai. We have 45,000 students studying right from art, science, commerce, liberal education, to engineering, to pharmacy, to various other subjects. Now the idea was that we were kind of understanding as to how the needs of industry will be met by the students in these colleges. And we were shocked when we carried out studies as far as that is concerned. And we found that even the best colleges that we ran, the people would not get employment in spite of the growth which is taking place in the industry. We found engineers not getting jobs for 6 and 12 months as far as that is concerned. And that shocked us because there is growth in the industry, but we would not be able to do it. And we started another subject calling skilling to people. And this year we skilled 5,500 poorest of poor free of cost. And we were shocked with the results. And the result shock was there was not a single person unemployed at the end of their skilling process, which was a period of 2 months, 3 months, and 6 months. The longest courses we ran were 6 months, and this was the kind of course that we completed. Each and every one. Because we correlated with industry, because we had a connection, because the courses that we ran were so connected with industry directly, not a single one of them was not getting a job at the end of the courses that it ran. And they shocked us because we never thought that this is what is going to happen. And at the same time, for those who are in India will understand this part, and also here to explain to you, many of the graduates that we have, which passed from our colleges, were serving as peons and clerks and subjects of this kind, which in the good old days we wouldn't have imagined that that would be said. So we realized that the disconnect which is taking place is something very, very, very stark. And that is what we need to change. This is a change that we need to work. Let me give you, sir, from the ICT, we recruit a lot of engineers into our company. At the end of the day, we do get gold medalists from various institutions. When they come to our sites, they have zero practical training. That is not put as part of the syllabus of civil engineering that takes place. So even when a gold medalist lands up at our construction sites, he is unable to carry out the construction activity, and he has to be given a training course to do civil engineering work. He may be the best designer engineering in the world. We do, designers are in the civil engineering category, beat the best in the world. But when it comes to practical execution, which is a huge demand in our country, we don't have a connect. So the changes that we are now talking about is actually to connect with industry, to connect with you in Pepperdine, with you in the world, to pick up the international best practices that you have, bring it into our country, share our experiences that what we have seen in terms of growth, and understand that the investments into India is the biggest growth that is going to take place in the next couple of years. So, what the mass requirements are in terms of quality of life that we need to improve of a huge part of our population which is actually missing. The second part of it is to share with you that the growth in India is not only into this aspect of infrastructure, but it is the quality of life that we lead. What is the other stark change which is taking place? That India, which was really rural and agriculture 50 years ago, is today an urban India. Because the growth in the cities, small cities, large cities, marginal cities, is growing at a very huge percentage. And the absorption of people getting employed in the country is not happening in the rural areas. It's happening in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 towns. And those opportunities are growing much faster than they are growing in the agriculture sector. Because of mechanization, because of new systems of inputs that we have done, the number of people required in the farming sector is becoming lesser and lesser. Our social structure, wherein the Prime Minister has brought in various projects to take care of the farming community, has helped them to be in the disastrous system of droughts which is taking place presently as of today in India. We have been able to look after those people, which maybe 30 years ago we couldn't have afforded to do so. Let me give you the other end of the spectrum which has changed. In 1970s, we had a huge drought in India, and we actually put out our hand for the purposes of food from the United States and Canada. It was called PL 480 program, wherein we actually had to put our hands out for the purposes of food. And we couldn't even afford to pay for it. The country couldn't afford to pay. That was the first time. And the last time that we ever had to beg for food. Within 3 years' time, we carried out a program for the purposes of improving agriculture output. And since 1974 till today, 2019, we've never had to beg for food and never had to write off any international loan. That was the first and only time India went and stretched its hand out this way. Today, we do handshake, which means that when we take loans, we repay back with interest. So all the amounts that we are taking on all the infrastructure projects that we do a handshake, happily take investments into the country, and then repay the same. So the new India that we see is a fantastic India. And the next 5 years, I see an opportunity for the Americans, education systems, our Indian education systems, to interact with each other, to learn global best practices, to incorporate the opportunities in India, which are so different than the needs of the rest of the world. I understand you're going to Dubai, and it's a wonderful small city country that has taken place with a huge opportunity of growth. But just try and understand that one suburb of New Delhi is the size of Dubai. And the opportunity that which is going to be in India is only 1 billion times more than what Dubai is. Just to give you a kind of a size context as to what is the size of India and the future which is going to be there as far as this country is concerned. So we're very, very happy to have you over here. We're very happy that institutions like AICT are taking a change situation into account for the purposes of taking up the new reality which the Prime Minister wants us to do. Those changes are radical. There are going to be huge changes in the next 5 years on the education system, because it has to connect with the problems of our country, the needs of our country, the needs of international best practices. 30% of all our engineering colleges of merit send all our students to your country. So today, if you're looking at California, let me share with you that our IIT students which leave this country, almost 10% of them go to your state, California. So we're very happy to have you come over here. And So it's really a lot of fun to see this kind of interaction. In the last 30 years, a large number of doctors moved from this country to the United States also for the purposes of this. So this interaction that we are now seeing about has to look at it a new aspirational India. A new India where the needs are growing exponentially. If you can also help us to bring this country to the next level, use those ideas and research thoughts in order to solve the problems of our country. Our country has huge problems. I just shared with you that 50% of my city, Mumbai, the richest city in India, has 50% people living in slums and shanties. Such a sad state. But that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity to be able to reconstruct in the next 5 to 7 years 50% of the city of Mumbai. Can you imagine reconstructing 50% of New York? We are bigger than that. So the opportunity is great, and I'm so happy to be over here. Thank you very much for inviting me for this program to speak to you at this particular occasion. The issues which I see in the future is not going to be the ones which are only to India. They're going to be global. The climatic change and global warming is something which is not going to affect only India. It's going to affect the whole world, including the United States of America. And the situation is such that we really need to take care of the entire world together. We need to actually hold hands and say, what can we do to the rest of the world by coming together for this global change? Our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, has committed that they will take the leadership in terms of environmental change and improvement. That is what is happening. We started by giving toilets to the poorest of poor. We didn't have toilets for this country. And today, let me happily share with you that there is no Indian in the last 5 years who does not have a toilet. And let me share with you that 25% of India 5 years ago did not have a toilet. Can you imagine the change? Can you imagine possibility of 25% of a billion plus people having to be provided toilets in the last 5 years? So we are doing a lot, but there is so much more to do. There is so much greatness in this country and so much to look forward to. But we need your help too. We need to pick up and move the paradigms faster. We are all in a hurry. We can't wait for 20 years for things to happen. Change has to take place today. Educational institutions, regulators like AICT will have to take new paradigms today. We cannot even wait for tomorrow morning because our youngsters are not employed. Can I educate more people and find them unfit for industry? It would be a shame. And that is exactly what has happened in the last couple of years. So we need to remove this mindset of yesteryear, understand what the future is going to be, and bring about a new world paradigm to there. India is a peaceful nation. It is projected as anti-Pakistan. It's not. We are interested in the peace of our country. We rather spend all the money that we put into defense into development and redevelopment of India. And we are working towards it. But we need a strong nation for Pakistan not to create any more hypes that they are doing. And we are looking forward to the change. So the change is that we will grow, we will become more powerful, but we are a peaceful nation. We want to take care of the climate of the world. We want to be wonderful. We want to have more interactions between each of us. So we are delighted that you have come over here in such numbers that you do. And Madam Dean, most welcome. And in Mumbai, whenever you decide to come, if you make a second city, then I'd like to invite you to that also. So thank you very much.